Welcome back to the channel, and yes, we are not in the kitchen today. We're in my room because we got something a little different going on today. Today I am going to share with you one of my other hobbies that I actually really like to do. Now, a little backstory on me. I was a military brat. I was not only a military brat, but I was also homeschooled through practically all of middle school and high school. And I graduated through an accredited homeschooling program called Abeka Christian Academy. And with the mix of moving and being homeschooled, I had to learn to entertain myself. Now, it doesn't say I didn't socialize with other kids. I did. I was in orchestra playing classical cello for 5 years. But outside of being with my orchestra mates, I really had to entertain myself. So that's when I acquired a particular set of skills. And one of the skills is crocheting. Today I am going to be crocheting a scarf for my wonderful and so lovely future brother-in-law, Percy. Now, the reason why I'm only going to refer to him as Percy is because I don't want to use his actual name on the internet. So he's just going to be known as my Percy.
Now you may be wondering, what does this green chain have anything to do with your future brother-in-law? Well, let me tell you. So my future brother-in-law, his nickname comes from this train. Now this train is from the show and the books Thomas the Tank Engine, and my future brother-in-law has an interesting sense of humor and mannerisms and way of talking that are exactly like this character, Percy. And it just so happens that my fiance's mannerisms and just way of being is very much like Thomas the Tank Engine. So you can say that he and his brother are really close, just as close as these two characters are in the show.
All I want is a warm boiler, huffed Thomas. Firelighter knows that. He's late. He's not late, replied Percy. This weather woke us up early. Why don't we talk about something else? Shivered Percy. Yes, replied Thomas. Like how silly we'll look when our funnels turn into icicles. That's not funny. Maybe we'll stop feeling cold if we talk about warm things. Like sunshine and steam. And firelighters, muttered Thomas. Scarves, continued Percy. Scarves? Laughed Thomas. That's what you need, Percy. A woolly scarf round your funnel. Thomas was only teasing, but Percy thought happily about scarves until the firelighter came.
And that is why I call my future brother-in-law Percy. Like, in my phone, he is under the name Percy. Every time I hear a story from Thomas the Tank Engine and Percy's involved, like, everything Percy does in the story, I'm like, yep, I can totally see my future brother-in-law saying that or acting like that.
My funnel's cold, he puffed. I want a scarf. Rubbish, Percy, said Henry. Engines don't wear scarves. Engines with proper funnels do, replied Percy. You've only got a small one. Driver says the weather will be warmer tomorrow. You won't need a scarf, Percy. Certainly not, replied Percy. Engines don't need scarves. Engines need warm boilers. Everyone knows that.
I just love my Percy so much. So why don't we make a scarf for Percy?
I decided to use a 4.5 milliliter crochet hook. So for the tutorial on how to start, I'm going to use some yarn as an example. So to begin, you have to start with a slip knot. I started off knitting, and this is the way that I was taught, where you take your thumb and your pointer finger and you wrap the yarn around it. Then the yarn that is around your thumb, you're gonna kind of move it to the other side. Now, this side of the yarn that has been crossed underneath, you're gonna take it and you're gonna pull through the loop. Then take the loop, you're gonna put it on the crochet hook, and you're just gonna tighten it around.
your hook. So the way we cast on is, I learned this technique of putting it over your pinky, like this, over the pinky and over your pointer finger. And then you can just hold on to your work that way. And to cast on, you're gonna do is you're gonna hold on to your tail, because you don't want to crochet with this. You want to use the yarn that's connected to your ball. So we're going to go under, turn, so that way the hook is actually holding on to your yarn, and pull through. So that's one. Again, you're gonna hold on to your work, you're gonna go under, pull through. That's 2. And we're gonna keep doing that until we have 26 stitches. So now I've made it to 26 stitches. I decided to do was to basically stitch like a base stitch to then prepare me for the next set of rows. So in order to start my base stitch, I'm going to cast on 1, and I'm going to skip this first stitch. Just gonna do a single stitch. Pull through both. So I'm gonna keep doing that all the way down till I reach the very end. Now I reached the end. I still have one little hole to go in. So I go in, pull my yarn through, wrap around, and pull through 2. So now that I've reached the end, I'm going to cast on 1, I'm going to turn my work. So now I have my base. What I decided to do for his scarf is to do what's called a half double crochet. We turned our work, the very first hole right here, we're going to first wrap, and then we're going to put it through the hole, and then we're going to grab the yarn and pull through. I have 3 loops on my hook. So then we're going to get the yarn, and we're going to pull through all 3 of them like that. So we're going to keep doing that until the very, very, very end. And you're going to keep doing that over and over and over again till you get something like this. So this is what it should be looking like. And I did get this yarn from Amazon, and it's very soft, and I think it's gonna make a great scarf. I will say this yarn is a tiny bit difficult to work with, just a little bit, mainly because I've never worked with this type of yarn before, so I did have some challenges pulling through, as you can see here, but I do love how it feels in my hand. Because I know with some rougher yarn, I'll start feeling like it's giving me almost like a rash here on my finger. And I'm very thankful that this yarn doesn't do that. It is very soft. I also find myself getting the terminology confused between what's used in crocheting and what's used in knitting. So forgive me if my terminology switches back and forth between knitting and crocheting. It just makes sense in my brain. And that's the way it comes out. So one thing I found out was that if I left it here, cast it on another stitch to then like turn my work, it was going to be decreasing my work. So there's this little gap in here at the very end that I'm actually going to do a half double crochet into. So I'm gonna take my yarn, and there's like a tiny little hole in here. And I'm just gonna put my needle through there. See? or hook, not needle, hook in there. See? And then I'm going to continue as normal and pull through like that. I finished this row. And I'm going to cast on one. We're going to flip our work. Essentially, we're adding an extra little stitch to help us prepare for the next row so our work doesn't start doing this. I'm going to continue to do the half double crochet until I get the desired length that I want. And I'm actually using a scarf that my fiance gave me as a reference for how long it should be. Once I get that length that I think would be a good size, then I'll be right back because I have a little idea on how to make the scarf a little extra unique. So now I have roughly the length that I want. I use maybe like 1.5 balls of this yarn. I didn't use all of it. Of course, you could use 2 full balls if you wanted, but I only use about 1.5, and I am going to make a rough measurement and see how long the scarf actually is. So this scarf was roughly around like the 50-inch mark. So what I'm gonna do in order to make the scarf just a little extra more unique is I'm gonna be using this, and it's gonna go on the edges all around the scarf. And then at the end, we're gonna do something even more. Because Percy's just that special, we need to pull out all the stops. So I'm gonna make a slip knot. Take my slip knot, I'm gonna tighten it. I'm going to take these 2 and tie knot. So now I'm just gonna do single crochet stitch and the border. Alright, so I made it at the end. So I'm gonna do a single crochet, and then in order to now come along this edge of the scarf, I'm going to 2 stitches, and I'm going to go into the same hole, single crochet. Now I have like a little corner here. That way the scarf just looks neat. Now that I'm on the side of the scarf that it's the edge and doesn't have the nice little holes like we had here, I am essentially just gonna try and go for wherever I find a little hole. See, like this. So I'm gonna keep doing that, and I'm gonna keep going around and around and around until I get the thickness that I want. So here's our border all done and completed. When I measured it, it was roughly about like, I want to say 1/2 inch to a little bit over 1/2 inch. But I didn't want the border to be very thick. So this is what I was happy with. You can make it as wide as you want it. And that little extra flare that I added to the scarf were little fringes. So now that we have our fringes, we have to trim them. And both sides are roughly around the same length. So I'm happy with this.
So this is Percy's scarf. I really hope that he likes his new scarf. It'll keep him warm this coming winter. And it was made with lots of love, care. Happy belated birthday. I know I'm late. But I hope my Percy enjoys it. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, share this video with everyone you know, leave a comment down below of what I should make next. And until next time.